Captain on the bridge.
Alright, Captains, we are back here on the bridge, and today, yes, we got something to go over from the Star Trek Online Reddit page, so on screen. Yes, Captains, before we get into this video, do us a huge favor and hit that like button to help this video and the overall channel out, but also, if you're new here, welcome. Consider subscribing here to the YouTube bridge, where we're always on the lookout for like-minded captains to share our love, passion for Star Trek Online, but also things Star Trek. Now that said, here we go. Yes, Captains, we have some ECs to share on an awesome article, so that is what we'll do. And then, of course, at the end, give our conclusion. So, shout out to Cola Convoy for posting this up on our Stow page. You see here, 15 years later, one canon-changing Star Trek game is still going. And this leads us to an article from inverse.com. So we head over here. It says, 15 years ago, Star Trek gaming leveled up and changed the canon forever. Star Trek Online was the start of a new era. So just a little bit of a background here, Captains. Most of you know Star Trek Online is our main content that we focus here on our channel. But that wasn't always the case when Star Trek Online came out. When it first came out, it was like 2012. And we didn't start playing until like 2014. But since then, we haven't stopped playing. I don't know why I didn't hop onto it right away. Maybe it was the ship designs that I saw in certain pictures, thumbnails I saw on the internet. It didn't interest me. But then all of a sudden, one day, I just gave it a shot. And well, here we are. And this has been an awesome journey for me personally to be able to share, like I mentioned, my love and passion for Star Trek Online, but also things Star Trek here on the channel. And this has been such an awesome game for me, and a really good escape, not just for me, but a lot of captains out there. So I wanted to go over this article here and see what this is all about. So I'll link, of course, this article in the description below, Captains, in case you want to go over it. But so we'll start here. So Star Trek, despite its reputation as a science fiction franchise committed to hope, peace, and equity in an enlightened future, playing Star Trek still involved quite a bit of pew shootouts, I should say. Yes, we like shootouts. We like the pew pews. Yes. The original series was groundbreaking for both its serious science fiction storytelling and various representational achievements. But it was also an action-adventure show grounded in the traditions of naval adventures like C.S. Forester's Horatio Hornblower novels, and westerns like Have Gun, Will Travel. The point is, the action, space battle, and conflict are a huge part of Star Trek's various narratives, so it makes sense that not all Star Trek games would be solely focused on exploration and space diplomacy. So, a little bit more EC's, Caps. I grew up with TNG, so that is how I got introduced to Star Trek. So I'll carry on here. But 15 years ago, one massively online game tried to do the impossible: create an immersive Star Trek game that satisfied the action-adventure part of the equation, but also gave players the ability to feel like the galaxy was a big enough place to explore without constantly firing off their phasers. Well, at this point in time, that's literally what it is, firing off our phasers nightly. The result was Star Trek Online, a game that launched on February 2, 2010. So I'm mistaken, not 2012, 2010. And it's still going strong to this day. The ripple effects of the game carried out to Trek Canon 2, and we'll cover that, of course, a little bit later. So this is the free-to-play trailer. I actually did not see this, to be honest with you, Cap. So, you know what? We're going to watch it. Because why not? Put the volume down just in case. Oh, those graphics.
You are part of an enduring tradition. For over 200 years, men and women have served with honor, courage, and wisdom. Our first duty has always been to the truth, the guiding principle that defines us. From the stars, knowledge. To wear this uniform is to continue a most noble mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. In this dark hour, you must shine. You must light the way for the lost and oppressed. The final frontier awaits, and though you sail a ship upon a sea in storm, you wear the uniform. You carry the tradition. Valor and sacrifice are your watchwords. Whatever comes, whatever finds you, stand tall, hold fast. You are a Starfleet officer.
Lieutenant Yoshi, alert Starfleet. We have engaged the Borg.
They are the Borg. Resistance is futile.
There's a lot of feels in that trailer, and wow, it's kind of crazy that that trailer is that old, but we'll go on here. So in 2010, the Star Trek franchise was at an interesting crossroads. While the 2009 J.J. Abrams reboot film had been a smash hit in 2009, the Prime Universe canon, aka everything that had occurred in the entire franchise up to that point, was seemingly on hold. Enter Star Trek Online, a game set in the era after Star Trek Nemesis, also one of my favorite movies, but incorporating the future tense continuity from the reboot movie, specifically the destruction of the planet Romulus in the late 24th century. From the beginning, Star Trek Online's goal was to create an immersive world for players, but one that was also familiar to Trek fans who were still hoping for a continuation of the era that was chronicled in the next generation Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Set in the early 25th century, in the year 2409 initially, Star Trek Online positioned itself well outside the canon of the then newer films, and also beyond anything we'd seen in the TNG DS9 Voy era. This was a safe space for the creators of the game to innovate, and to make sure that what players interacted with looked like the Star Trek they remembered. You know, for me personally, like Star Trek Online, I kind of like treat like a different dimension. Like all my characters, even though they're in the same, you know, account, I treat it like each character is in a different universe, different sort of multiverse era. And of course, that's kind of what we're in exploring in Star Trek Online. So I thought that was pretty cool. The promise that Star Trek Online gave to its players, and somewhat straightforward, to let players create their own captain and starship, and then boldly go out into the galaxy and gain experience and pew pew pixels. But because this is an online MMO, there needed to be a near constant threat of conflict. So, Star Trek Online created a new status quo in which the Klingons and Federation were no longer at peace, and various other alien governments were warring too. Essentially, the fallout from the Romulan supernova, depicted in Star Trek 2009, created a galaxy-wide shift, making everything more or less topsy-turvy. Love the Chad captain there. Interestingly, the post-Nemesis timeline became a major part of the actual Star Trek TV canon, albeit much later. When Star Trek Picard debuted in 2020, the show was more or less set right around the same time as the online era, and thus subtly contradicted aspects of the game. And yet the basic notion that the galaxy was rowdier than it had been in the sunny TNG era remained. And by Picard Season 2, the look and feel of Starfleet was directly influenced by Star Trek Online. That brings a smile to my face, not gonna lie. In fact, when it came time to assemble a massive fleet for the debut of episode of Picard Season 2, the production designer Dave Blass turned to Star Trek Online team to help import digital ships from the game directly into the TV series. And Blass told Inverse back in 2022, "I found these ships from Star Trek Online and I was like, dang, these are really good looking." I was like, why are we not doing something here? So I know there have been some comments that I've read over the years that it was sort of a lazy part on not Blass's but Paramount's way to just kind of use Star Trek Online. But I mean, come on, exactly, like why not? And this just, when these ships came into Picard, I a lot of captains I know, maybe yourself included, lost the minds, because I know I did. And again, we'll cover more of that as we go through this article, but just those first scenes, I remember seeing that fleet in front of that Borg ship, just gave me a sense of just happiness and like almost like a proud moment. It's so hard to explain. Like, you know, myself, I'm a father, and I'm not saying I can compare that proud moment of a father, but it's close. It was close. It was close. The result was that for Star Trek gamers who had been loyally toiling away in the 25th century of Star Trek Online, suddenly ships from the MMO entered the 25th century of Star Trek Picard. This culminated in what is probably one of the most prominent examples of game canon changing TV movie canon ever. By Picard Season 3, it was revealed that the USS Enterprise F was indeed and in fact an Odyssey-class starship, just like in the game. And because Picard Season 3 was set in 2401, it was then possible to view the 2409 future of Star Trek Online as a possibility for the canon of any TV series or films set in that area. So like a possible future. That's another thing too. Star Trek Online is like a possible future. And the only thing I didn't like about the Odyssey being featured, the Enterprise F, in Picard Season 3 was the fact that it was to be decommissioned. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the Odyssey class starship is a canon ship. Now, personally, I didn't like the Odyssey when I first started playing, up until the fact when Thomas redid the actual skin for it, and of course that's the thumbnail for this video. So it just fixed some of the problems that I had with the Odyssey, like its deflector. When you look at it from the front, it just seems so wide, and what he did with it was kind of trim it down. It just looked really good, and the nacelles just looked great. Everything he did, and he added even like a cargo bay above the deflector, which I thought was a great touch. Of course, this is the unparalleled launch trailer, which, again, Star Trek Online has so many voice actors from the Star Trek series. It's absolutely mind-blowing, and it makes it connect Star Trek Online to Star Trek that much more, because they are reprising their roles in Star Trek Online, and I love it. There's only, for the most part, the voiceovers have been absolutely amazing. There are some that haven't been so stellar. I won't name the names, but maybe, captains, you let me know what your favorite voiceovers have been over the years, and maybe who you didn't like of the voiceovers over the years in the comments below. I'd be interested to know. But regardless, having them in Star Trek Online has been definitely a treat, and just makes it feel that closer to canon. Over the years, Star Trek Online has had a slew of celebrity guests, lending their voices to the original characters and alternate universe versions of beloved icons. From Chase Masterson playing a version of Lita from the Mirror Universe, or Walter Koenig as Chekhov, to Will Wheaton as Wesley, to Denise Crosby, recently returning as an alternate Sela as captain of the Enterprise. This game hasn't just explored the regular Star Trek galaxy, but a massive multiverse too. As a game, Star Trek Online requires a ton of patience. The mechanics aren't intuitive right away, and it takes time to get used to running your ship and figuring out which missions are worth your while. But patience is also part of the rest of the Star Trek franchise too. And for 15 years, Star Trek Online has rewarded its players with a unique experience they couldn't find anywhere else. And along the way, the bold designs of the game managed to change the rest of the Trek world too. Of course, Star Trek Online is available, of course, on the consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So, for me personally, I view Star Trek as something that has really changed me as a person. The message of hope is really one of the things that I got from Star Trek Online, from Star Trek in general. And the hope of a better future for everyone. Yeah, of course, there's the warring, the pew-pews, as mentioned, but you know what? Those are sort of the values that have been sort of ingrained in me, and for me, Star Trek Online has been a place where I go to the bridge at night after a long day when I just need to relax and wind down to just do that. And of course, be with my fellow captains who are like-minded, you know, and I really do hope now, of course, the last couple of years has been a little rocky, especially with the DECA taking over. But for me, I think they actually saw the potential in Star Trek Online. And that was one of the things that I was sort of afraid of when Star Trek Discovery came out, that they would fumble that sort of opportunity to bring all that stuff to elevate Trek, not only in canon, but also in Star Trek Online. Now, looking at it years after, at where Star Trek and Star Trek Online is now, a lot of things has been imported into Star Trek Online from canon, and now, of course, vice versa. Star Trek Online to canon, and it's just been an awesome journey, and I hope DECA really, really takes it by the reins and just brings Star Trek Online to a better future. My hope definitely is that Star Trek Online will be on for a good long while, and I plan on playing this game until they turn off the warp core. I am dead serious, captains. I know that there are other games out there that we try out, but when I want a warm blanket at night, Star Trek Online is that. And I know it is for a lot of you caps. And it's funny how I mentioned about the mechanics of Star Trek Online, and for any potential captains watching this video who are new here, of course, welcome. Or new to Star Trek Online, or even sort of considering Star Trek Online, we can ignore the little pup in the background. I do recommend trying Star Trek Online and giving it some time, giving it some, investment of learning Star Trek Online, because it can be quite enjoyable once you get a good grasp of the shipbuilding mechanics, which is part of the fun. And what some of the videos we actually do here in Star Trek Online is share our builds. One of the aspects of Star Trek Online is building your ship, and it's really fun, but it is layered. Like, I mean layered. It's not just slapping on weapons on your ship. I mean, you can, by all means, if it gets you through the content you play, no problem. But regardless, when you get to that point of shipbuilding, there's a satisfaction that that's your ship, and of course you can do whatever you want with your ship. You can customize its looks. On top of that, even your bridge officers, your captain, everything. And that's like one of the really awesome things about Star Trek Online is just the customizability of everything. And it's not perfect, but it is. There's no game out there like Star Trek Online, and I don't think that there would be anyone willing to do a Star Trek Online 2 because of just what this has created. And I would be okay with it 100% if this game just kept getting updates over the years. Again, it's not perfect. It's very flawed. Like, the ground mechanics are very janky, but the space combat, newer players that I see play Star Trek Online always say that the fun thing that they loved was the space battles, the pew-pews there in space as is. And that is where we find our enjoyment, is the pew-pews, definitely in our ships nightly there on the bridge. So I thought it would just be fun to kind of go over this and kind of, again, share the love, share the passion that we have for Star Trek Online here, and hopefully try to convince maybe newer captains to try Star Trek Online. And not only are there fellow like-minded captains out there who just want to be in the Star Trek universe, I can almost 100% guarantee that you will feel that here if you give it a shot. So happy 15 years to Star Trek Online, and hopefully many more. I want to be playing this until I'm 50, 60. I don't know. We'll see if we're still if we're still kicking then. But regardless, happy anniversary. There's a lot of things coming up here for the 15th anniversary. We're going to be covering that here on the channel. So captains, do us a favor, hit the like button to help not only this video but the channel out. Comment below, let us know your experiences, let us know what you took away or what really keeps you coming back to Star Trek Online. And of course, if you're new here, consider subscribing to the YouTube Bridge. And we'll leave it on this note.
Live long and prosper.